This is Fearless Careerist with Dr. Catherine Robert. On this episode, Catherine talks with Dr. Eilene Edejer on her career choices and barriers along the way.
I did. I became the research director for a longitudinal project. I'm like, I'll show you. And everybody, like, I know. Well, this is the thing, though. Like, this is my personality. Like, if somebody says, you can't do this, I'm like, that, I'm going to do it.
Here's Catherine Robert.
In his work highlighting the value of creativity in education, Sir Ken Robinson wrote, "To improve our schools, we have to humanize them and make education personal to every student and teacher in the system. Education is always about relationships. Great teachers are not just instructors and test administrators. They are mentors, coaches, motivators, and lifelong sources of inspiration to their students." Dr. Eilene Edejer is one such leader who has developed learning experiences for all levels of students, all the way from pre-K through graduate students. She is a clinical associate professor in the School of Education at Loyola University Chicago. Through her scholarship in assessment and evaluation, leadership, and teaching, she has maintained her passion for mentoring students and providing voices for underserved populations within educational spaces. In 2024, she won both the Outstanding Registered Student Organization Advisor of the Year and the Pedro Arrupe S.J. Faculty Award for Diversity Leadership. And she joins us here today on our first episode of Fearless Careerist. Eilene, thank you for being here.
Great to be here.
I'm so excited, Eilene. Did you know what you wanted to study when you were applying to colleges?
I thought I knew what I wanted to study. It was the late 80s, and me and everybody in my high school were brainwashed to want to make money. I think I knew back then, being Asian, that I did not want to be a doctor because much to the chagrin of my parents. But my dad was a business person, so I said, okay, I'll make a lot of money in fashion merchandising without any grain of creativity other than being an admirer from afar. But I thought and I applied to business programs, and I got into Loyola's School of Business and quickly found out in the first couple semesters that was not my thing. Econ and accounting did not come very easily to me. I was failing those classes and had to change my major quick.
Was that depressing?
Yeah. It was a reality check, and not only did not come naturally, it was like painfully boring. And everybody in the class was like, this is awesome. I'm like, this sucks. And I'm like, how do people make money knowing this? Because I'm like, it was a snooze fest. So, and it was hard to break it to my dad that I'm like, I can't do this. And he's like, what do you want to do? I said, I want to study art history, and this glazed look over his face, like, what are you going to do with that? I'm like, I just really like it. And he's like, no. So I was still in the role of obedient firstborn child. So I'm like, okay, fine. So I landed on a communication major.
Okay.
And I hinted at the possibility of being like a journalism major, which was my mom's major. But I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was essentially giving them whatever they wanted to hear just so I could change majors. So yeah, and that worked out, because that led to other things.
So the new major worked better. You felt successful in those classes.
I did. Okay. Yeah.
And did it show you what kind of job you wanted to get? Like, did you know what you wanted to do?
One of the faculty members, Dr. Bren Murphy, was just amazing, and she became my mentor throughout the program. That led me to pay attention to the importance of interpersonal communication, nonverbal communication, and my interactions with people. And that led to me pursuing a counseling master's degree because it made sense. Plus, it was free school because let's be real here, because I didn't want to go home after I graduated my undergrad. And I thought, oh, wait, there's this master's program that is attached to a stipend to a graduate assistantship in residence life. So why not?
So a place to live and...
Yes. Place to live, work, get paid, education. Like, oh, this is all aligning. So what am I going to do with this? I don't know, but it's a good opportunity. This is how I make my decisions, right? I don't know, but it sounds good for now.
So yes, you loved Chicago.
Oh my gosh, yes.
You didn't want to go back to Ohio.
I didn't. It did not. It was so very white.
So what were the parameters? Eventually you're going to finish this master's.
Yeah.
What were the parameters of your job search? What did you say by the time you finished the master's that you thought you wanted to look for?
I needed employment, and I didn't know. I wasn't sure if I wanted to stay in higher ed or if I wanted to use my counseling degree to actually be a counselor. And so I cast the wide net, landed a job as a counselor in a Catholic high school.
So you're 23, 24. Well, what did you think of going to work then? How was the job?
It was a very eye-opening experience. So it was a very large, prominent Catholic, all-girls high school on the south side of Chicago. I did not have a car, and I commuted the first couple days, and I had to leave at like 4:30 in the morning in order to get there on time at 7, whatever.
Wow, that is a long commute.
Oh my God, it was such a long commute. Like I took the red line all the way down to the end and then took a bus and then I had to walk like forever to get there. And I was like a hot, sweaty mess by the time I got there, which is so not pretty. And and I'm trying to look cute because, this is my first job and stuff. So it was just, and I was like, man, I got to get a car. I don't care how crappy it is. The one thing that I remembered that was like foreshadowing as to how my work was going to be there was I was introduced as Eilene Edejer from the north side to this sea of white folks in an auditorium. And I looked around and I am pepper in a sea of salt. So I'm like the only person of color in this sea of people. And I immediately felt, and there was no terminology for this, I felt othered. And I didn't know that was a term or a thing, but I felt, I was not in Kansas anymore.
Were the students all white?
No. At the time, it was 11% students of color. So I had to learn how to navigate that a bit, both with faculty and the staff. And this is my first job, and I had to learn that they're just going to say what they're going to say, and they don't care if you hear it or not. There's no such thing as politeness sometimes, and you have to choose your battles and decide, are you going to say something? Is it worth it? Sometimes you don't know those things early on in your career, and most of the time, those first 3 years, it was more of like, I can't believe this person said that. I can't believe this is happening.
So you didn't have that formal language. You just had this. You had their social response to inappropriate behavior.
Yes, like what the what?
Yeah.
And then it escalated to 3 years later. Like I was crying every day. There was just it was getting pretty sick and wrong. But I mean, during the time that I was there, I tried to make things work for me. So I started. I'm like, I'm going to embrace my brownness, and I started a multicultural organization there, and man, students flocked to it, and I made noise there.
Ooh, rebel in your first job.
So I thought, all right, I can do this. Like I can do things. So and that was kind of like my first foray into supporting students, giving them a voice and seeing how powerful that was, and standing behind them and knowing that if I do this for them and give them a platform, they can't touch me.
So you got something positive out of it.
I did. It was
what
great.
made you leave?
Oh my gosh. There were some people in my department who they didn't like the attention that I was getting, and they would sabotage my work. So we would have paper passes and slips to give to students so that they would come see us in the counseling office. So I would dole out, slips to students, and I find out that my colleagues were taking those slips out of the outbox so that none of my students would ever meet with me.
I mean, that's crazy.
I know. My husband at the time was like, you gotta just quit your job. I'm like, I don't have another job to go to. And he's like, this is not sustainable. and this is not good for your health. This is just not good for you. You can't do this. He's like, but the students, they need me. And he's like, you're not going to be any good to anybody if you're like this.
Crying every day. Yeah. Okay, so you left, but did you have another job?
Yes. Miraculously so, I scoured the internet and I found there was a job at Loyola in student affairs to be the assistant director for student development. And so essentially I was going to be directing all the Asian American student affairs. So I'd be the advisor for all the student organizations. It was really an awesome job. And I'm still in touch with the colleagues that I worked with for this position. And I'm in touch with the students that I mentored during this time. And I collaborated with like units across the university, with academic units across the university. I got a taste of relationship building at Loyola and making stuff work and happen.
So you're almost done with the doctorate, but then you started looking outside of student affairs. What made you think you didn't want to just stay in that position, or?
I was trying to be strategic about it. And then I thought, okay, I'm going to start my career in research. I joined a longitudinal research project at Northwestern, but that only lasted a year because it was not a good position.
Yeah, you were supervisor of tracking operations. What were you tracking?
So this study was a follow-up study for youth who had been detained or imprisoned, and they wanted to survey these students or test them to determine if they had received psychological services while they were detained. Mm-hmm. And if they had, if those services, did they make a difference or did they continue seeking services? And they found a good handful of people. Did they find enough? No, which is why I was like fired pretty much.
Fired? Oh my gosh.
I know.
Was that depressing?
Yeah. It was such a total blow to my ego. I'm like, really? I can get fired for this stuff? Really? This is...
Because I tried.
I did. I tried. I tried really hard. And I thought I was naive me. I'm like, I thought trying really hard is enough. But apparently no. You have to have results too. I'm like, okay, heard. The best part was that the PI pulls me into her office and she's trying to give me some sort of pep talk. And it was so insincere. She said something like, I'm sure you'll find something. It's probably just not going to be in research. And I'm like,
and that was the very thing you were studying, finishing your doctorate to do.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm like, okay, whatever you say, lady.
All right.
I have other plans besides what you're telling me right now.
Yeah, you found another job within the same month as leaving Northwestern.
I did. I became the research director for a longitudinal project. I'm like, I'll show you.
So you did.
And everybody...
I'll show you.
I know. Well, this is the thing though. Like this is my personality. Like if somebody says you can't do this, I'm like, that, I'm going to do it.
Okay. So you got a job.
Yes.
Right away.
I did. I know.
Directing a longitudinal study.
I did. Yeah.
How did that go? This was with causes, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It was really a great experience. I mean, I built that from the ground up. I hired a staff. I designed the project. I developed the instruments, developed the protocol.
Wow.
It's everything.
What were you studying?
It was a couple of things. Children who were being treated at this social service agency. We were collecting data on the providers, so the people, the therapists who were treating them, and then also collecting some information from the kids and caregivers.
And you're leading also. You're researching, but you're also both at Northwestern and here at Causes, you're leading a team. So these are your early experiences in leadership.
Yeah.
Did you any early mistakes that you made?
Well, the one at Northwestern was the effort alone will not get you there. Like there has to be I have to have an idea of what is my goal, at least in the interim, like the goal for myself. And I have to understand, what is expected of me, either, in knowing, even if it's realistic or not realistic, I have to know what that is.
Right.
And if it's unrealistic, then I have do some thinking and negotiating. And
so then that helps you set goals for your staff at Causes then that were reasonable. Okay. Well, that's a good lesson to learn. But so you had a really good experience at Causes, but then you left. We have a time now where there's a break on your resume. So
Okay, so that enter my life.
Real life. Okay.
Real life happens. So during this time, my spouse at the time and I decided that we wanted to have children, and this always happens. So my professional life is going great, and my personal life is tanking. Not tanking, but it was difficult. So we were deep in infertility, sucked hard. It was so terrible. So fast forward. So I finished my dissertation. So this is how I handled my infertility, and like I can't control anything. I can control writing my dissertation. So I cranked that out in 6 months.
Right. That's fast.
I walked. It is fast. I'm like, I'm
Those
going to
of
do
you who
this.
don't have a doctorate.
I got to do something. Crank out a doctorate. So I walk the stage, and then I find out that I'm pregnant, but not only pregnant, but I'm pregnant with 4.
Wow.
So I have multiple. Our OB, he said, you have the option to reduce. And we were just horrified at the idea.
Yeah.
It's high risk to grow 4 babies, but it's also, horrifying to think. I mean, it was a struggle to become pregnant, and the thought of taking a chance and reducing, it's like, I don't think so. So we were like, all right, I'm going to take my chances. So long story short, so there were 4 boys. It was all 4 fraternal quadruplets, and they had a congenital heart problem. It was hypoplastic right heart. So the right ventricle just did not, it didn't develop.
Wow.
And I lost 2 right away at 15 and 17 weeks. And then, so I had 2 growing for a while. At 24, I lost the 3rd one, and then Max was born. So he was born, and he was born with a lot of medical issues. So we spent pretty much 10 and a half months in and out of the hospital, and pretty much mostly in the hospital.
Well, now that's hard to work.
Yeah, so which is why I didn't work during that entire time. So much of that gap was me either bedridden, because I was not allowed to move during the last part of my pregnancy.
Right.
And also during the time that Max was alive, I didn't work at all. I was just pretty much hanging out at the hospital.
Yeah.
Crocheting.
Wow.
Making stuff.
Yeah, work is hard when life is happening in its fullest.
Yeah. I didn't do anything for a while. So.
But he didn't make it.
No, he passed after about 10 and a half months. It was just, he just had a lot going on, and his little body couldn't take it. So he said, all right, I'm out. That's it.
Wow.
Peace out. So
That's devastating.
yeah, it was hard. It was really hard. I saw Max as a complete gift. To have been with him, to have witnessed this, to like have he taught me at least to pay attention and to really look closely to things, and to appreciate the people that I meet and the experiences that I have, and not take things for granted
While they're there, right?
while they're there. Correct. And it is a very, very valuable gift and lesson that I try to honor every day.
How did you
good.
pick yourself back up? I mean, here you are. You've just gone through this major life event. How do you even ponder going back to work?
It was hard. So a lot of it was, I spent some time kind of recentering with my mom. Mm-hmm. I knew that I had to think about like what gives me meaning, and how do I feel worth, what makes sense for me next. I have it boiled down to this fact that I was still, although I had experienced this loss, I'm still a newly minted doctor.
Dr. Edejer.
I'm still this doctor. I got to do something with this degree now.
Okay, good.
So I'm like, all right, let's hawk my wares and see where I land. So I was really, really fortunate enough to land a position at CPS, which is
Chicago Public Schools.
Yeah, it was Chicago Public Schools. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And every time I say this, like every time I land a job, I'm like, oh my God, it was fabulous. No, okay, I'm not even joking. This was the fabulous job. I started in ORE, which is the Office of Research and Evaluation. During this time, I had worked on a project with early childhood in Chicago in CPS, and I loved working with them, and they loved working with me. And so I became their kind of like a research director coordinator and just did all kinds of work with them and for them. And they're
No downside.
like you have to be transparent with everything, because 4-year-olds see through your and you can't BS your way through that. You have to be real all the time. The analysis and the data that I would pull for all of these schools would be like attendance data, and it would be used immediately at this school pronto.
So you got to see the immediate results of your reporting.
Yeah,
That's exciting.
Yeah, it was really, I loved it.
So what made you leave?
Oh my God. Life again. Yeah. So while Max was in the hospital, I told my husband at the time, I know we're really uncertain about how this is going to pan out, but I really like having kids. I'm down with this. Like I'm open for more. You know, I waited until he was ready, and he was ready about 2 years later, and we had to do the whole infertility thing again.
Oh, wow.
Like again. So that was a treat. It's third time is a charm, right? So like the third round, we were getting ready to do it. While I was at CPS, I became pregnant with twins. Like this was about as regular a pregnancy as I could get. Anyway, so I had them, and they were perfectly healthy, and it was amazing.
Yay.
We go through, we care for them for a while, and then things start to kind of fall apart between Brian and I. And we go to counseling, and his counselor pretty much tells him, yeah, you probably need a job change. And he's like, okay. And he gets an offer in a position in Boston. I said, okay, I'll look for something there. And I found a comparable position to mine.
That's good. Wow.
It's almost like it was meant to be. So we moved out there.
Chicago had been your home.
I know. Yeah.
20 years.
This was not a career move. This was entirely a move to try to literally save my marriage, to see if I can give my family a start, or not even a start, to kickstart something.
Yeah.
Give some stability.
But the job wasn't the same?
It was similar. So it was a similar position, but the work was very different because, the way Boston works is completely different than Chicago.
So how long did you stick it out?
I was there for a year and a half. So my mom passed away while I was in Boston. And after she passed, something clicked in my head, and I knew that I didn't want to be in Boston anymore. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to be in familiar territory. I knew I wanted to be back in Chicago. So I pretty much told my spouse at the time that I'm moving back. I'm going to find a job in Chicago, and I'm moving back, so you can decide what you want to do. And he goes, all right, I'll see what I can manage. So Loyola once again saved the day.
To the rescue.
I know. I found a job here, and I reached out to a colleague that I had known for a while, and I said, "Hey, it's me. I found this position. Do you think it'd be a good fit?" And she's like, "Oh my God, it's so great to hear from you. Yeah, do it. Apply for it and everything."
So you started working both as a clinical professor, that is just a teaching role, and for administration as an assessment coordinator.
Yes.
Then as an assistant dean in the School of Education.
Yeah, that was a few years later.
First experience teaching at that point?
No. I had taught years and years ago at an art school, and so I taught critical thinking.
So you did that on the side while you...
I did.
Okay.
I did.
You did a few things on the side, like your research projects continued past the time, and kind of kept your finger in the pie of a lot of different projects.
Yeah. Okay. I always this has been my thing. Like I always need about 10 different projects going on at the same time.
Okay. But then you moved out of the administrative work with the School of Education at Loyola and into a more centralized role with the Office of Institutional Effectiveness.
Yes.
How did that come about?
There was a movement to be more mindful of microaggressions and the way folks talk to each other, and the whole idea of climate, and especially like interactions, racial interactions. So we in the School of Ed did a climate survey, and I was, so fun fact, so like within like my first 3 days of being hired as a clinical faculty, like I got literally tapped on the shoulder like, hey, do you want to be a part of the diversity committee? And it was almost like I was back at the high school. I'm like, why are you asking me, the brown person that's standing in front of you?
Eilene from the north side.
Eilene from the north side. Eilene, the Asian person wanting to be on the diversity committee. Why ask me? You're so obvious. I can't, like, really? You're not even like shielding the fact, like.
But you did it anyway.
But I did it, of course.
Okay.
You know, I did it. I'm like, okay, let's see what you got to offer. And, you know, and the results were, as you would predict, there was microaggressions happening everywhere, at every level. Staff to faculty, faculty to staff, administration to faculty, faculty to admin. It was just happening.
And unfortunately not unique to just that one university. Yeah.
This is not just a trend within our unit. This is happening across the country. Here are some tools, like we're gonna have a series of trainings, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, administration didn't really like that a lot. And I reported to them, and they made my life really difficult after that.
This is for the whole university or administration for
This
School
is
of Education?
For me
Okay.
in particular.
Yeah.
After that happened, my work was scrutinized more, and I was like put on probation. There was retaliation.
Okay.
And so I'm still here. But I just was like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And plus, during all of this time, I was on a committee that was housed in OIE, and I'm like, why am I breaking my back to be recognized as a competent worker, as a competent person, to have my voice heard, when there are people across the university who know me and understand what I do.
Right.
Like, and I need to go where I am appreciated, where my work is appreciated.
So OIE, for those of you who are not university people, is the Office of Institutional Effectiveness, and it typically provides institutional reporting to government agencies, to the university itself, and it provides a host of other services that basically deal with the data. So it writes surveys, does program assessments, which, Eilene, is your specialty, assessment and evaluation. Mm-hmm. So it was a better fit than to work there. Yeah. And then you served as co-interim director.
Yeah, this is a joint appointment. So I'm only there, half the time, and then the other half of the time I'm teaching and I'm chairing like a bajillion capstones and doing, my faculty stuff. And then the other half I'm doing whatever is asked of me in OIE, which is fine because I love just jumping in wherever I'm needed.
Right. Did you want the permanent job?
Well, I saw this as an opportunity I had applied for the director position and I did not get an interview, and I thought, okay, that doesn't make any sense, but okay.
But I mean, it's a setback, right?
It is. But then
you didn't have too many in your career. But it didn't kind of take over your larger body of work. You kind of just took it in stride.
No, but I did realize, though, just being interim, that I didn't want to pursue higher level administrative positions. Period.
What did you want to do instead then?
So he's a graduate student. This was like the best compliment ever. He's like, "You're like the Bene Gesserit."
Bene Gesserit. Yeah, you mentioned that. I had to look it up. It's from Dune.
It is from Dune. And I had said to people, I like to create change from the background. But he says, like, the way he sees me at at here at this place is that I relationally, I have my fingers in so much that I have not influence. I can connect people from the ground, from just where I am. I don't have to be in a high level influence position in order to prompt change. I can do it just from connecting people, and I can do it from talking to folks.
And that's comes from years of work, just putting in the time and learning the systems.
Yeah.
Learning how to talk to people. Through all of that, you've been guiding student research and assessment and evaluation. You mentioned capstones for students. You've been developing inaugural research for the Institute for Racial Justice. You've continued serving on the Institutional Review Board. You've mentored new faculty and have been a faculty advisor for the Asian Students in Action, to name a few of your highlights. What has been your favorite work at Loyola in your time as a professor and administrator?
Working with doctoral students, capstone students, to get them to finish, working with them to finish. It's a long process, but man, that time where you go back into the room and I say, "It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. So-and-so." Oh my gosh, I'm already crying. And then you see them at graduation and they're all like duded up. We're all wearing our puffy stuff and it's just
they make their own personal seeing their personal journey, right?
Yeah. I enjoy being like the guider, the cheerleader, the mom, the drill sergeant.
But this year you've simplified your work to focus back on your role as an associate professor. What's next?
I am, and I've been super, super fortunate enough to be now working with a dean who wants to start a collaborative. So the idea is to grow some research connections and projects in collaboration with CURL, the Center for Urban Research and Learning here at Loyola. So we would not only partner with them, but teach them how to run their own research, run their own evaluations, so that it's like a sustainable model, right? So that they would learn how to keep conducting their own evaluations and keep conducting research to the future.
So helping that program or other educational programs learn how to self-assess.
Correct.
And then make changes based on the data they find.
Correct.
And then keep serving their individual missions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
And then eventually, we'd roll in other faculty here at Loyola. It'll build it into courses, build it into blah, 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 and then students would get opportunities to work with the projects and
so that would connect students more directly to actual research that's going on, which sometimes can be difficult for a student to find a research project.
Yeah. I had I worked on an evaluation project last year, and the director of the project just randomly sent me an email and said, "Would you mind talking to this student? He's a sophomore and he's a data science major and he wants to get experience and he doesn't know what to do." I'm like, "Sure, I'll talk to him." And I talked to this student and he barely knows how to articulate what he wants. I'm like, "All right, come on, I'll show you this. Here's this big giant thing of data. And this is the project that that we're working on right now. Do you think this would be interesting to you?" And he's like, "Yeah, I could probably do something, but I don't have much skill right now." I'm like, "Okay, perfect." So, and I said, "All right, well, if you want to work on it, you have to articulate some goals for yourself, because I'm not going to," and in my head, I'm like, "I can't handhold you, but you got to put some skin in the game." So it's I'm kind of testing out some of these working relationships, partnerships, but it's really, when I do this, I make sure that whoever I work with, meets their own objectives.
Right. Well, we've all been that sophomore who can't articulate our goals. So you're doing good work there to help them. As we look into the future and forward and backward, What do you think? What was the best advice that you've ever received on the job that you remember and you think of when you're faced with a new situation?
I don't even know if it's advice, but something that I heard. One is that everything is temporary.
Okay.
And it's either for good or for in a positive way or in a negative way. So one, like if something is really awesome, just pay attention to it and really just soak it in right now, because this moment is going to pass. Or if it's really shitty, this is gonna pass. As horrible as it seems right now, this is gonna pass. So everything is temporary. So I learned when Max was in the hospital, and during my infertility, I took on Buddhist teachings and mentality to get me through it.
Right.
And it had served me very well.
Right.
And so part of that kind of has gone on. The other piece is something about, I can't remember what the first part is, but something is relational and it's not transactional. I don't know if it's so much that somebody has told me, but I have learned, just especially within the last 6 months, just spending the time, taking the time and paying attention has paid off in spades. And people notice when you spend time, take time, and pay attention.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a quote from I think it was a movie where she says, people always say it's nothing personal, but it's personal to me.
Yeah. It's always personal.
Yeah. Every transaction is personal or relational.
Mm-hmm.
What advice do you have for young professionals who are at the beginning of their work?
Everything is temporary.
Everything's temporary.
No, for real. I have been trying to tell that to my kids, and they look at me like, no, it's going to be forever. I want to give advice based on what I know and what I have lived. I hesitate because today's world is not the world that I came up in. And so if I gave the advice of follow the opportunities and follow your interests and opportunities, is that going to yield the same or similar results? Will that yield success in their eyes as it has in mine? Because I'm fairly happy where I am now. I'm very happy where I am now. And it has become because I took advantage of opportunities and my interests, right? I followed wherever it led me blindly sometimes, right? And I would say the same thing to people, follow where your interest takes you, even though you might not be sure where you're going to end up 5 years from that point. Just see where it takes you. And I don't know if this world will operate in the same way where it did when I did the same thing.
Dr. Eilene Edejer, it has been a true pleasure having you as my first guest on Fearless Careerist. Thank you for sharing today.
You're welcome. This has been amazing. And I look forward to hearing more on this lovely podcast.
To learn more about Eilene's research and work in assessment and evaluation, see the link in our show notes. I'm so excited you're here, and remember, you're not alone on your career journey. Together, we can share our stories, move boldly into that perfect job, and we can light the path for our future fearless careerists. I'm Catherine Robert, and I can't wait to hear your story.
Fearless Careerist is available on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. Subscribe there or visit us at catherinerobertedd.com.